What's going on, everyone? To everybody's surprise this morning, especially my own, Throne and Liberty actually did make changes to their combat. In a live letter that they released in Korea, they had a little clip showcasing some of the changes that they've made to their combat, adjusting and addressing some of the static feeling issues. So before anything else, let's check that out. Oh wow, already that looks better. I do like the dodge. There's the movement while attacking. There's a new little like target reticle that you can see, the little red triangle on the character. So I think that's gonna be like a primary targeting thing. So that was the little clip that was released in the producer's letter that we're gonna go over here briefly, just to cover some of the main points that were talked about. It's a lengthy letter. We'll put a link to everything in the description, but just want to go over some of this stuff. Now, the video, first and foremost, I do want to say that that looks better than everything that we saw from the entire beta that was shown. You know, we still have to wait and see what that final product of it all is going to look like and how it feels for all weapons, not just, you know, the couple that they showed there. But you know, it's definitely better than what we saw in the beta. There's no arguing that. It's 100% better looking gameplay, and it looks more fluid and more engaging than what we saw. Now, speaking of that engaging, there's some other stuff that was taken away from the game, like the auto gameplay being eliminated. And they talk about that in this letter here. So this is just a general greeting in the letter, talking about some of the issues that they were facing and, you know, the feedback that they were getting. But you know, they want to talk about this, share their awareness of problems that they were having. We defined the game's problems revealed in beta testing as twofold. Its static combat and boring growth. These keywords may sound like an obvious task, but behind them are various planning intentions we wanted to implement. In explaining the improvements today, I would like to tell you how our thoughts are expressed and how we will correct any deviations from our intentions. Dynamic battles with choice. There were many reasons why the battle felt static, but the biggest reason was the lacking of freedom of operation. When planning the shape of a large-scale war, we considered formations important, so we implemented collisions between characters and set most attack actions so that they cannot be performed simultaneously with movement. However, our decision resulted in inconvenience in the movement and infringement on freedom of operation. The shortcomings became more noticeable in battles in peace zones, which took up most of the playtime rather than the large-scale war situations. So like, you know, the PvE mob farming, which is where most people will be spending their time. To improve this, we've taken the following steps. The overall combat system has been changed to allow attacks while moving. Huge. Conflicts between characters have been eliminated in all areas except conflict areas. I think that means collision. Collision between characters has been eliminated except in PvP areas. The inertial effect applied when changing direction has been minimized to increase responsiveness of operation. You know, a really good example of how bad this can look and feel is if we do want to use New World as an example, and that when you suddenly change direction, the inertia of going back and forth, the way your character does the hard pivot slide and then changes direction again, which is bypassed by jumping and changing direction, and your character will just do it automatically rather than that slow down back to speed up kind of thing. So they've minimized that type of effect, is what that sounds like in a description. So, of course, this does not mean that the combat system has been fully improved with the above modifications. However, the first step to change static combat is to dynamic was to start with moving and fighting at the same time. Huge, 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 huge. Those are definitely important things. After removing, we're going to skip down here. After removing to the many restrictions on operation, what they focused on were their skills. There were limits to the skills that could be used, which prevented players from actively thinking about their play. So in addition to targeting type skills, many new types of skills have been added, such as specifying a direction or hitting a specific point according to the NPC operating environment. We increased the number of skills initially given and quickly changed the learning speed of new skills. In the early stages of development, we focused on easy operation, so most skills consisted of only targeted attacks, target-centered wide area attacks, and self-centered wide area attacks. The monotony of the control method increased, and the slow pace of acquiring skills during the growth process made it difficult to experience the variety of battles. Adding a new skill type was a task to change the existing simple operating rhythm and make it possible to use the skill more strategically. by changing the setting where the number of skills given at the beginning of play was small and the learning speed was slow. We made it possible to play with a variety of options from an early stage. We're also working to make the weapon swap system more seamless. The weapon system of wearing and using two types of weapons is an important feature of TNL combat, but the actual combination of weapons used had clear limitations. Now, to talk about that a little bit, they say the stat system, where certain stats only affect the attack power of certain weapons, has been completely overhauled. So fighting spirit, skill, wisdom, insight affect the attack power of all weapons now, and the effects of additional abilities other than attack power have been added or have been expanded. So all the stats are going to scale attack power now, but it seems like the additional effects are now going to be more heavily influenced based on which stat is being used. But this is going to make every weapon more effective in that your stats on your gear, you're going to be able to go for a much more specified stat investment for really any weapon. From how that's translating. Weapon passive skills that were only effective when using certain weapons have been adjusted to have an effect on all weapons. We've reduced the burden of operating multiple equipments by increasing the number of sources for making early equipment and obtaining reinforcement materials. So it sounds like they did that for gearing. So this was the video that was in the letter. So it is an official video, but you can see it here. And, you know, again, this does look better than everything that we saw during the beta, and that's great because the game didn't look bad visually. We all loved the way the game looked, and we all loved exploring around the game. The problem was the actual gameplay, right? So to talk about that growth, which was another issue of it, through the testing, they heard many voices of disappointment about automatic hunting from users. And, you know, that's one of the things that it just felt like everybody was a bot when you were in the world and going around questing and killing stuff. Everybody just looked like they weren't a real player, and that doesn't really feel good. So we reflected on the fact that gamers who play with keyboard, mouse, and pad expected was not an automatic game in which characters move on their own, but a game in which they could immerse themselves by closely controlling content worth manipulating. Yes, people playing on PC don't want to play an automatic game. Now, this is a little bit different when it comes to people on mobile. So we'll see how this is going to play out for non-PC variants of the game, but auto hunting and auto movement have been completely removed, is what this is stating. Along with the automatic hunting, automatic movement has also been removed. We considered keeping automatic movement in terms of convenience due to its size, which, you know, auto traveling, not the worst thing in the world. You know, it's used in BDO and people really don't have a lot of problems with it there, but some of that's more of the systems of how BDO used to function with some old systems. But we decided to boldly remove it because of the value of experience of moving around the world, meeting people, and exploring new areas. From the point of removing automation, the game had to transform into meaningful content play rather than simple repetitive hunting. Of course, that is not our. It's not that our game didn't have those elements, but we needed to add new content types to improve quantitatively, and we also needed to supplement existing content to improve qualitatively. The proportion of hunting in the growth section has been significantly reduced. Experience rewards for Adventure Codex, Exploration Codex, regional events have been significantly increased. Various mission elements other than hunting are being added to the Exploration Codex and Resistance quests. We are preparing a number of party play instance dungeons that require boss clearing. So it sounds like one of the issues that existed was there wasn't really much for small group play to exist, and everything was very Zerg content oriented, where you could just numbers game it the way they describe it. So they are going to have party level instance dungeons so that you can enjoy, you know, casual co-op play in a smaller group. This is content that was not shown in the beta test, but we'll be able to see after the initial launch. Unlike field events and field raids and content, party instance dungeons must be conquered with a limited number of people, so they cannot be conquered by simply the strength of the number of people. Zerging. It's important to understand the gimmick of the dungeon and respond accurately. We hope that these new cooperative contents will enhance the diversity of the growth process. In addition to adding new content, it is also important to reduce the proportion of hunting in existing content. In beta testing, we found that many people were immersed in the behavior called exploration, Watching people discover hidden places in the field, that made me wonder, I wonder if I'll ever get to this point. I became convinced that I need to make exploring and discovering more fun. With changes in the growth content play, the growth speed changed as well. Manual play cannot require as much playtime as before. The growth time required to level up was drastically shortened, and the time required to adjust equipment and develop skills also had to be shortened. The time it takes to level up was significantly reduced. We have changed the growth of equipment faster by increasing the number of sources of materials needed to make and strengthen equipment. Skills are acquired automatically now as the level grows, and the amount of materials needed to strengthen skills has been increased to speed up skill growth. Level growth time has been adjusted based on manual play to max level. The time to reach level 30, which was shown in the beta test, has been reduced by 1/3. The time to reach level 50, which is the maximum level for opening, has been reduced to 1/10. 1/10 of the time it would have taken to get to 50 normally. Which, you know, that's sounds like 50 was a real slog. All of the above mentioned issues are urgent priority measures, and many other improvement works are underway at the same time. Some of the improvements will be reflected and tested in the Amazon game's upcoming technical test closed alpha, and we will complete the game in a better form. We promise to continue to refine and fix it until the day we present it to you again. So then we just go into the closing statement. So, you know, we are seeing an improvement to this game. They are changing the combat from what we saw in the Korean beta, and along with some adjustments to some of the other systems. So I will definitely say I am individually pleasantly surprised by this letter with the changes that are made. This 100% makes the game more appealing than it was before. You know, originally the game went from everybody being really excited about it to being really bad, like feeling really bad about it. And this should hopefully, you know, definitely generate more interest into the game again, because some of the really key issues that people had are being addressed. So fantastic to see that. Just wanted to go through that all with you real quickly. Thank you so much for watching. As always, if you have any questions or comments, you can always catch us live on Twitch at twitch.tv/Zav. Take care. Have a good one.